this awareness is, it just is. It's ever present. It's constant. It's permanent. Now, can you see that the thinking, the smelling, the tasting, the touching, the hearing, the seeing, can you see how the thinking and the five senses, that's impermanent?
Yeah.
Can you see how that activity is coming and going? That activity is appearing and disappearing. That activity is ever changing.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what is it that's aware of that impermanent activity?
So it's what I actually am. So it's like, let's use the word consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is what you're describing as the awareness, yes?
Yeah, like being aware of all the sense of the thinking,
Yep.
and it's like I'm looking from this awareness perspective on everything, and everything is just happening, and it's totally fine. Uh, Even if it's pain or stress, it's simply being watched, and it's okay.
Right. So that's what's allowing you to that's what is experiencing the ever changing phenomenal appearance of thinking and the five senses. Like thinking and the five senses appears to you awareness, consciousness.
Yes, so that's the way I would describe it. As
Yeah.
this is how it feels like.
Yes. Yeah. Now, what is the experience of awareness of awareness?
Yeah. I would say it's hard to grasp. It's a little bit, so it seems a little bit far away.
Okay.
So I'm aware of the senses and the thinking.
Yeah.
That's like the constant at the moment.
Yeah.
It won't change at the moment, but probably I'm trying to get it with my intellect, awareness of awareness, like trying to feel something behind the thing that feels like the thing that's being behind.
Okay.
So yeah,
So
this is where I start.
there's awareness of things, thinking and
Yes.
the five senses, let's call those things. Those are objects. There's awareness of objects. There's awareness of activity. So that's what's aware. The awareness is aware of the activity that is appearing objectively. But what's aware of awareness?
So I mean, it's true. I'm aware that I'm aware. So I can't. It's like I can't deny it. It's like uh, you could say the end. It's like there's nothing behind the awareness of awareness, and I'm
Right.
aware that I'm aware of all these things.
Right.
So yeah. So this is true for me.
Yeah. Right. It's not something else that's aware. It's not like this thing that's going to keep going on and on. That there's awareness of things. Okay, well, what's aware of awareness? Well, something else. What's awareness of that? It's not like that. The awareness is aware of itself. It's not like there's something else that's aware of that. Right? So the awareness that you are is self-aware. Its nature is awareness. It's aware. You are aware of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So when I ask you that question, what's aware of awareness? Notice what happens. So right now I'll ask you the question, well, what is aware of awareness?
It's basically what I am, the whole,
Mm-hmm.
everything that comes up into it. I don't know how to explain it. It's like the way I feel it right now is like mm, everything that is contained in it,
Mm-hmm.
the whole experience, you could say. So the whole experience of 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 this and everything is like this awareness of awareness.
It's not quite like that. So so when I ask you the question, what's aware of awareness? What's aware of awareness? Now, do you experience the mind relaxing, softening, and basically going silent and still? Is that your experience?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So that question takes you to the silence and stillness that you are. And notice how now this is not an objective experience. Prior to this, there's awareness of thinking and the five senses. Then I ask you the question, well, what's aware of the awareness?
So I can't locate it really. It's
Right.
like everywhere, you could say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's non-local. So it's everywhere and it's nowhere.
Yeah, a little bit paradoxical, but yeah.
Exactly. Now notice how what you are experiencing, the awareness of awareness is not a thing. Prior to this, you were saying, I'm aware of thinking, thinking being a thing.
Yeah.
I'm aware of smelling, smelling being a thing, tasting, touching, hearing, seeing. These are objects that are appearing to you. The awareness is aware of objects. Awareness of awareness is a non-objective experience. You're not experiencing objects. The awareness is not a thing.
Yeah.
You see how this awareness of awareness is not an activity. You're not experiencing coming and going. You're not experiencing appearing or disappearing. You're not experiencing any movement. You're not experiencing any space. You're not experiencing any time. Can you find any limits to this awareness that you are aware of?
No, no.
No. So the awareness is limitless. Can you find any borders or boundaries?
None of it.
No. Now notice
So,
how the awareness is impersonal. So there's no height, there's no weight, there's no gender,
yeah.
there's no nationality, no religion, no race. Notice how the awareness is formless. So this is you experiencing your essential nature. This is you experiencing you, what you essentially are.
While we're doing this, everything becomes way more peaceful. Like really, it's really, really peaceful right now, but
Yeah.
it's perceived as well. So this is something I can't really tell the difference between other objects. It's like really essential to it, is peacefulness.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's like being perceived too. It comes up,
Yep.
say,
So let's just keep your eyes closed. So this peace that you're experiencing, I ask you, well, what is aware of being aware? What is aware of the awareness? It's you that's aware, and you are aware of being aware. So this is you experiencing yourself. Then you say, well, it's peaceful. This is because your nature is peace. This peace is not an object. It's not an activity. So it's non-objective and it's non-phenomenal. There's no cause to it. It's unconditional peace. Now notice how you are not separate from the peace. Notice how the experience is actually, it's peace that's experiencing peace.
yeah, it's essential to it. It's like it's one.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time stress I felt uh, today is like calming down.
Mm-hmm. So by resting as this peace that you are, anything that arises in it, any thoughts that are arising in it, any of the five senses that arise in it, there is a peacefulness to that which arises in it. Because the thinking and the five senses, notice how that activity is not touching this peace that you are. Notice how nothing can touch this peace that you are. Notice how my words are not touching the peace that you are. If I were to say some sort of insulting comment, it would not touch your essential nature. that just by simply being aware of yourself, you experience peace. That is the experience of yourself. And this peace is untouchable. It can't be disturbed. It's an unshakable peace. It's ever present. It's permanent. There's no limits to this peace. There's no start. There's no end. So this peace is eternal. And it is you. You are not separate from this peace. There's not you and something called peace. It's your nature. It would be the same as saying that wetness is the nature of water. There's no water and wetness. This peace is the nature of you. So now you notice that you can rest as your essential self, that you're just simply being aware of being aware. But now you're noticing that you can simply be aware of being aware in the midst of listening to my words. It's not like one or the other. It's not like you need to stop listening to my words in order to experience yourself. That you're experiencing yourself in the midst of listening. Listening is still happening. The listening is actually happening in the peace. My words, the sounds, are arising in the peace that you are. So the sounds don't need to be excluded. The peace is here in the midst of the activity. This is what gives you the experience that even listening to my words is very peaceful, because you're simply experiencing the sounds without overlooking your essential nature. And this is no difference than any of the other five senses or thinking. Thinking can still happen. It's not the enemy. It does not need to be excluded. There's no problem with thinking. Thinking in the five senses is an activity that continues, but now it's continuing in you, the peace.
I I noticed in the last week that that thoughts have become quite more peaceful, not in the content level, but it's like, first of all, there are way less thoughts than usual, moments of no thoughts even.
Yeah.
And it's like most of the time, like 95%, it's like the thoughts are more like in the background
Mm-hmm.
and are pulled into the front if they are needed.
Mm-hmm.
For let's work, for example. And so the whole um, quality of thoughts has changed the last weeks
Mm-hmm.
uh, in a really, if I compare it to the way it was before, in a dramatic but positive dramatic way, like thoughts don't have that much or any control. So it's like this for at least the last weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the experience is much like this awareness that is ever present is in the background. And then we become aware of it. Going, oh, there's something in the background, this awareness. But we were simply overlooking what was in the background and paying so much attention to the foreground thoughts, this thinking activity. And that's all we were experiencing. So much that we were almost consumed by it. Then it's kind of like, oh, well, isn't there the awareness that's present? And it's kind of like in the background. But now then we become aware of that. And by being aware of the awareness, this thinking that seemed to have a pull and a lot of this negativity and, the suffering of the thoughts and identifying with that, that starts to decrease. And this awareness feels like it kind of moves from the background into the foreground. And now it comes with it's our true nature that then permeates the foreground. So even the thinking and the five senses, or our, just call it our experience of life, starts to be experienced as more peaceful, more happiness, more freedom, more love, more like benevolent.
It feels a little bit like a clearing process. I don't know if it's like this, but it's especially in the morning when I wake up, or if there's a stressful situation in work, it's a little bit like there are coming up thoughts that are from the on the content level like negative, or um, try to feed a habit or something like this.
Yep.
But this is perceived as well. It's like, okay, there's this thought or this thought pattern. I know this, and I know my casual reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it feels a little bit like all these thoughts are coming up um, to being able to watch them so they won't come up in the future like this. So it's like, it feels a little bit like a clearing process.
Yep. Yeah. It's very much like exactly what you're describing, clearing or a purification process. And this is this is like everything coming up to be transformed. So a lot of repressed emotions start arising. Everything just kind of starts bubbling up to the surface. as if everything is kind of, in the ocean, and things are just kind of bubbling up to the surface. And on the top of the surface, it's that, the light is shining on it. So the light of awareness. So everything is coming up from the depths, from the dark, depths of the ocean, to come up to be illuminated by the light of awareness that you are. So it's everything is arising to be seen. And in that seeing of these old conditioning patterns, these old thoughts, the repressed emotions, that is actually more of a purification process. It's more of the transformation, that it's transforming those thoughts. It's transforming those emotions. It's transforming it into its true nature in a way. So it's just consuming everything, turning it into itself. Right? Another way to see it is like this awareness is its nature is love. So it's including everything. So a lot of the things that were being rejected, being excluded, are now coming up. And it's like it's just embracing everything. So it's embracing these old emotions, these repressed emotions, these old thinking patterns. And now what's happening is it's the absence of what was happening. What was happening was there was a rejection. I don't want to feel this. These thoughts are bad, go away. All of this rejection, all of this judgment. So it's actually nothing that's new that's happening. It's actually the cessation of what was always happening, which was this judgment, this rejection, this resistance. So it's actually the absence of the judgment, the resistance, the rejection. So that's this unconditional love. Right? This love is the absence of rejection. So there's no like splitting yourself. Right? Typically there's a split happening. I don't like this part of myself. I don't like that thought. I don't like that feeling. I don't want that. It's this rejection, which then is creating this division. It's creating this war within.